called Ospedale Psichiatrico di Pavilion. Soon after it opened, strange things started happening. A patient named Giuseppe Moretti said he heard voices calling his name in the middle of the night. Another patient, Maria Santoro, saw a dark figure in the hallway. Nurses reported hearing footsteps when no one was around, and doors would open by themselves. In 1935, a mysterious fire broke out in the asylum, killing several patients. The cause of the fire was never known, but it led to the asylum's closure. After that, the island was abandoned. Today, Pavilion Island is a ghostly, forbidden place. True scary story. My name is Anna, and this happened to me a couple of years ago when I went hiking alone in a forest near my town. I always loved hiking by myself because it was peaceful, and I liked the quiet time to clear my mind. But after this day, I don't think I'll ever go hiking alone again. It was early in the morning when I started the hike. The trail I took was pretty remote. Not many people knew about it, and that's part of the reason why I liked it. As I walked deeper into the forest, everything seemed normal at first. The birds were chirping, the trees swayed gently in the wind, and I could hear the faint sound of a river nearby. After about an hour into my hike, things started to feel different. The forest got eerily quiet. No more birds, no more wind, just silence. I brushed it off, thinking maybe the birds just flew away. But then, I had this strange feeling that someone was watching me. I stopped, looked around, but there was no one, just trees and bushes. I tried to ignore the feeling and kept walking. A few minutes later, I heard something. It was the sound of footsteps behind me. I stopped again and turned around quickly, but no one was there. My heart started racing. I stood there for a while, listening closely, but the footsteps stopped. Trying to stay calm, I told myself it was probably just an animal, so I continued walking, but I couldn't shake off that uneasy feeling. As I kept going, I noticed something even weirder. There were footprints on the trail ahead of me, but I was sure no one had passed me earlier. The strange part was, they weren't hiking boots or running shoes. They looked like barefoot prints, large ones. At this point, I was starting to panic a little. I decided to turn back and head home. That's when I heard it again. The footsteps. This time, they were faster, and they were definitely getting closer. I didn't want to turn around. I just started walking faster, my heart pounding in my chest. The footsteps behind me quickened too, and now it was clear. It wasn't an animal. Someone was following me. I started running. The sound of footsteps behind me grew louder, like whoever it was running after me. I didn't dare look back. My legs were burning, but I kept going as fast as I could. All I could hear was my own breathing and the footsteps getting closer. Just when I thought they would catch up to me, they suddenly stopped. I finally looked back. Nothing. No one was there. I stood there, gasping for breath, but the forest was completely silent again. I didn't waste any more time. I ran all the way back to my car, not stopping until I was safely inside with the doors locked. I don't know who or what was out there with me that day, but I've never gone hiking alone again since then. Something was definitely watching me, and I still wonder how close it got before it decided to stop. True, scary story. I live in a pretty quiet area. It's just a small house, surrounded by trees, and the nearest neighbor is a few miles away. One night, I was home alone, which wasn't unusual for me. My parents were out of town, so I planned to just relax, watch some TV, and maybe read before bed. It was just a normal night until I heard the noise. At first, it was just a light tapping sound, like something knocking against my bedroom window. I figured it was probably the wind or maybe a branch hitting the glass. It wasn't that strange, especially living in the woods, but the tapping didn't stop. It kept going. Tap, 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 over and over again. I tried to ignore it, but it started making me uneasy. After about 10 minutes of this, I finally got up and walked to the window. I pulled the curtain back slowly, expecting to see nothing, but then I froze. There, standing outside my window, was a man. I couldn't make out his face clearly, but I could see his figure. He was just standing there, staring at me. My heart stopped. I didn't know what to do. For a second, I couldn't even move. I let go of the curtain and backed away slowly, hoping maybe he didn't see me, but I knew he had. I could feel his eyes on me, even with the curtain drawn. My mind raced. Why was he here? How long had he been watching me? I grabbed my phone and ran to the other room, locking myself inside. My hands were shaking as I dialed 911. I tried to stay quiet, but I could hear my own breathing, loud and fast. I told the operator what was happening, and she said the police were on their way. The tapping started again. This time, it was louder, like he was knocking harder on the glass. I sat in the corner of the room, waiting. The minutes felt like hours. Finally, I heard the sound of a car pulling up. The police. I didn't dare move until I knew they were there. When I opened the door, I saw the flashing lights outside and felt a wave of relief. The police searched the area, but didn't find anyone. No footprints, no signs of anyone having been there. But when they checked the window, they found something disturbing. Smudges on the glass, right where the man's face had been pressed against it. He had been there, watching me. The officers told me to stay somewhere else for the night, and I didn't argue. To this day, I still don't know who that man was or what he wanted, but I'll never forget the feeling of those eyes watching me from the darkness. True scary story of Long-Legged Witch. The Long-Legged Witch is a chilling legend from Indonesia, a figure of pure terror. Once an ordinary woman who dabbled in dark magic, she was cursed for her wickedness. As punishment, her legs began to grow with every soul she damned. Now, her legs stretch higher than the tallest trees, and her presence brings nothing but dread. In the dead of night, she prowls the jungle, her long, spindly legs moving silently through the darkness. Those who glimpse her are never the same again. She lurks in the shadows, patiently waiting for anyone foolish enough to wander her way. Some say you can hear the faint creaking of her bones as her legs continue to stretch, always reaching, always searching for her next victim. If she curses you, you're lost forever, dragged into the thick, suffocating jungle, never to return. The villagers living near the jungle whisper warnings to each other, urging everyone to stay inside after dark. But sometimes, despite the warnings, someone goes missing, and the legend of the Long-Legged Witch grows even more terrifying. If you ever find yourself deep in the Java jungle and see a towering figure in the distance, run. If she sees you, your fate is sealed, another soul claimed by her curse. True scary story. I was desperate for a job, you know. I'd been scrolling through Craigslist every day, hoping to find something. That's when I came across this ad, simple enough, looking for a personal assistant. The pay seemed too good to be true, but I thought, maybe I got lucky. The guy who posted it claimed he was a business owner, looking for someone to help with some paperwork and errands. So, I applied. A day later, I got a response. He said he liked my resume and wanted to meet up for an interview. But here's where things started to feel off. He asked if I could come out to his house, saying he preferred to meet in person at his home office. I wasn't too sure about it, but I figured I needed the money, so I agreed. The directions led me to this really remote area, far outside of town. When I pulled up, the house was just weird. It looked old, run down, like nobody had lived there in years. There was no sign of any home offices set up, no car in the driveway, no lights on, nothing. I had this sinking feeling in my gut, but I told myself I was just being paranoid. I walked up to the door, knocked, and after what felt like forever, the door creaked open. The guy standing there was not at all what I expected. He looked older, disheveled, not at all the polished business owner I imagined. He barely said a word, just gestured for me to come in. That's when I should have turned around and left, but I didn't. I stepped inside, and the air was thick with this awful, musty smell, like the house had been sealed up for ages. There was no sign of any office, just old furniture, and it looked like he had been living there alone for a long time. The guy barely made eye contact, and everything in me was screaming to get out. He asked if I wanted a drink. I said no. Then he led me into the back room, where he claimed we'd go over the job. As I followed him, I noticed something. door had a padlock.